over 60, discover the 4 shocking carbs to avoid and 4 amazing choices for transformative health. Martha perched on her front porch, the familiar surroundings of her Midwestern town framing her view. The laughter of her grandchildren wafted through the air. Each giggle was a sweet reminder of joy, yet an undercurrent of unease tightened her chest. What if she became a burden? Memories of roaring family dinners where she was the heart of laughter danced in her mind, now colored by an unsettling worry. The comfort foods she cherished weren't just indulgent. They felt like the very threads of her love, binding her family together. But did they also threaten her vitality? That evening, she sat across from her daughter Sarah, her reassuring presence another tie that bound Martha to hope. As Martha dug into her macaroni and cheese, Sarah expressed her concerns with delicate attentiveness. "Mom," she began gently, "I know how much you love this recipe, but have you thought about the hidden carbs? They're sabotaging your health." The fork paused midair, her heart dropping. It felt like an accusation. Was her kitchen, once a sanctuary of family and warmth, now a source of her decline? A chill ran through her as she considered if these old traditions could indeed perilously influence her wellness. The initial shock morphed into a growing concern. Could her beloved recipes, bastions of nostalgia, actually lead to her downfall? Martha's determination, buried under layers of fear, began to surface. She wanted to reclaim her health, not only for herself but for her grandchildren who needed her to be vibrant. Yet every thought of change battled with her love for familial tradition. Could her old favorites be replaced, or would those choices slowly chip away at her family's togetherness? As summer stretched out in full bloom, a barbecue loomed on the calendar, promising all the luscious indulgences that sparked her retreat into comfort. Scents of grilled meats and decadent desserts hung in the air, tempting her participation in the ritual she feared might trap her in old habits. She had prepped her own healthy dishes, colorful salads and lean proteins, but as the day approached, unease layered over her anticipation. Would anyone even want to try them? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Martha's resolve was put to the ultimate test that day. Surrounded by family, she watched George eye her quinoa salad with a skeptical expression.
His great love for tradition competed fiercely with her newfound dedication to health. Would he take the plunge with her, or would he cling to the past? Anxiety coiled tighter as a close friend remarked, "You've really changed things up, Martha. Are you sure that's for the best?" Doubt threatened to throw her off course. Could she truly inspire a shift, or was she destined to remain in the shadows of her culinary legacy, haunted by the fear of falling behind? As she surveyed the gathering, she felt the weight of unspoken concerns overshadow the laughter. Did her journey toward better health risk fracturing the bonds they shared? Each bite of her lighter dishes she'd prepared felt heavy with hope, yet burdened with uncertainty. Was this meal a new beginning, or merely a pitiful attempt to assert control? The storm cloud of doubt threatened to burst, leaving Martha teetering between hope and despair. Would love be enough to break the chains of tradition, or would her family remain comfortable in their old ways? As they engaged in animated discussion, Martha felt the tension bubbling beneath the surface, a question poised to reshape everything she held dear. Martha's heart raced as she scooped quinoa salad onto her plate, its vibrant colors reflecting her determination to embrace change. George, her husband, sat beside her, still skeptical. His love for the familiar, the comforting embrace of mac and cheese, was palpable. She felt a tight knot in her stomach. This barbecue could either affirm her newfound resolve or unravel it. As the festivities progressed, she attempted to spark interest in her healthy dishes. "You should all give the quinoa a try. It's really light and packed with protein." Her words hung in the air, echoing among murmurs of appreciation for the traditional dishes. George took a reluctant bite, his face a canvas of mixed reactions. She focused on his expression, reading every nuance. Would that small grimace drive her back into silence, or would it ignite her determination to succeed? The gathering continued, laughter and playful teasing swirling around her, yet a heaviness cloaked her thoughts. Just moments earlier she had been surrounded by love, but now a palpable divide loomed between the joy of family and her quest for health. She felt herself teetering on the edge, as though the weight of her old life clung to her like a heavy cloak. Throughout the afternoon, she caught glimpses of George's interactions with their grandchildren, who rushed to him for hugs and laughter. In those moments, Martha realized the importance of being more than just a comfortable chef. She aspired to be a role model of vitality and resilience. It was a chance to show them that even traditions could transform and grow, just as they did. Later, as dusk illuminated the sky, Martha approached Sarah, seeking solidarity. "I want my health back, but I also want to make sure the family feels connected," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly.
Am I doing this all wrong? Sarah smiled softly, placing a reassuring hand on her mother's shoulder. Change takes time, Mom. It's about balance. You're not asking them to abandon their favorites. You're offering them new choices. Allow them their space, and who knows, they might surprise you. The subtle shift in perspective resonated with Martha. Perhaps her fears were overblown. Maybe love could indeed coexist with change if she navigated this journey with patience and grace. Fueled with a newfound resolve, she decided to host an impromptu family dinner the following week, one that would allow her to share her healthy dishes more freely, without the chaotic barbecue atmosphere. It would become her opportunity to guide them, to rekindle their family spirit while introducing them to healthful alternatives. But would they be receptive? Choosing recipes that honored tradition while including healthier elements bolstered Martha's spirits. As she examined her options, she contemplated infusing her quinoa salads with flavors reminiscent of the beloved dishes, marrying the past with the present. Perhaps the path forward didn't require abandoning their treasured memories. Rather, it could weave in new experiences. Excitement replaced trepidation as the vision began to solidify. But just as she felt the warmth of determination, a sudden weight pressed in on her mind. What if they resisted her efforts? The thought sent quivers through her resolve, propelling her back into uncertainty. Would her efforts drive a further wedge between them, or bring her family closer together? As Martha settled into this inner conflict, the realization dawned on her. Her battle wasn't just about food. It was about redefining herself, her legacy. The moment for action loomed ever closer, but with it came the stark truth of confrontation with her family's most cherished traditions. Would she emerge victorious, or would the shadows of the past engulf her? The tension swelled as she prepared for the dinner, her heart echoing the crucial question, was she truly ready to face what awaited? As the days passed in the build-up to the dinner, Martha's excitement evolved into a swirling mix of hope and anxious anticipation. She surrounded herself with grocery lists, recipe cards, and vibrant vegetables, but just as she seemed to grasp her momentum, the familiar specter of doubt crept in. Would her family truly appreciate the change, or would they clamor for their traditional meals in protest? In the quiet moments between preparation, she found herself grappling with thoughts that contradicted her resolve. They had always loved her cooking. It was the heart of the home, a source of comfort steeped in nostalgia. But as she diced vegetables and cooked grains, she recalled those moments at the barbecue when George's hesitancy included his laughter vibrating through the air, infused with skeptical love.
That spring evening she stood before the stove, flames dancing beneath sautéing vegetables, and suddenly realization struck. This was not merely about introducing new recipes. It was about creating a narrative that resonated with her family. She envisioned her quinoa salad presented with a side of warm memories, perhaps with a hint of smoky barbecue spices that twinkled like magic, a bridge between their past and her present. Martha spent nights gathering ideas from countless recipes, infusing each selection with personal touches that would evoke shared stories. Each bite should not only nourish, but also ignite conversations about the past. With every addition to her menu, she wrestled with the notion of resistance. Was this an invitation to adapt, or a potential push against firmly rooted traditions? On the day of the dinner, George eyed the beautifully colorful spread with a blend of curiosity and apprehension. Martha prepared the table, arranging plates and cutlery like an artist crafting a mosaic, each piece chosen with care. The kitchen filled with enticing aromas, yet careless moments began to reveal themselves. Martha's heart thudded when the kids arrived, laughter tugging at her heartstrings, while their eyes darted toward the elaborate platter of quinoa salad. "Mom, what's this?" Charlie, her youngest grandson, asked, tilting his head, a spoon poised uncertainly in his hand. "It's quinoa, sweetie. It's really good. Just like rice, but much better for you," she replied, forcing enthusiasm despite the knot tightening in her stomach. George sighed, quietly loading his plate with the familiar mac and cheese while glancing sideways at Martha. "You know they love my recipe, right?" She saw the uncertainty flicker in his eyes, fighting back her own pang of frustration. Martha understood his intentions. His love for tradition was genuine and well placed in a history that shaped their family, but that love vibrated in a connection that time was nudging toward evolution. "Would you be willing to taste just a little, George?" she asked, softness lacing her tone.
He hesitated, but then reluctantly tried a spoonful, making sure to keep his expression neutral. Martha watched with bated breath, internal conflict flaring into a wild crescendo. Would he embrace this dish or dismiss it outright? As dinner carried on, her family's chatter filled the air, welcoming, yet peppered with cautious exchanges about the food laid out before them. Each smile and raised brow became a subtle confrontation for Martha. With each laughter and critique, her confidence wavered. She needed their feedback, but what if it was not what she hoped? Just as she thought of holding back her expectations, she noticed Emily, her daughter, buoyed with interest. "You really should try the quinoa. It's got a great flavor, and I think I could replicate this at home." Emily's enthusiasm sparked hope, challenging Martha to rekindle her own.
Suddenly, their family dinner transformed from a battleground of tradition and change into a canvas expressing both love and adaptation. The realization nagged at Martha that why her family loved her recipes was not merely for the familiarity of taste, but for the connection woven between their shared experiences. As the evening progressed, conversations bubbled about the health benefits of her new recipes, artfully intertwining with memories rooted in nostalgia. Attention shifted, the momentum of change began to establish itself without a sense of rebellion. But as Martha relished the victories of the night, a lingering thought whispered, a tension stirred within. What did it mean for families to evolve while holding on to their roots? Martha glanced at George's contemplative face. Was this only the beginning of their journey? And when the evening settled in, she knew that her work was far from over. The hard questions loomed like shadows on the horizon. What had she truly accomplished this night, and where would her breakthrough lead her next? The following days were a mixture of relief and introspection for Martha. The dinner had surfaced feelings she had long buried beneath the layers of family tradition. She now faced not just the idea of food changing, but also what it revealed about her own identity. Each morning felt like an awakening, the morning sunlight pouring through the kitchen window, illuminating more than the countertops. It exposed her desire to transform her family's culinary legacy into something broader and deeper. Martha began to envision her cooking as more than meals. It was an exploration of values. The dinner had kindled conversations about health that felt almost revolutionary in their implications. She recalled Emily's glowing enthusiasm, which fueled her ambition to push further. Martha found herself questioning, what more could she pursue within this passion? Was it enough to simply feed her family, or could she inspire them? With renewed vigor, she pasted a new list of her cooking aspirations on the fridge. It read, explore new ingredients, create fusion recipes, and even invite friends over for progressive cook-offs. However, beneath that vibrant forecast lay an unsettling fear of failure. What if her ambitions, too outlandish for her and her family, spiraled into criticism? Would they find her attempts pretentious, ridiculous even? Confronting these doubts propelled her towards action. She organized a weekend gathering with some close friends who had always supported her passion for cooking. They had shared recipes, laughter, and even the occasional tear. This would be an opportunity to test her new recipes before unveiling them to their family again. She called it a culinary experimentation night, a name that excited her, affirming that exploration and collaboration could both cushion and propel her nervousness. The day of the gathering arrived with a vibrant shimmer. Martha prepared the dishes with a meticulous determination that invigorated her. Each step felt significant, not simply about the meals themselves, but about testing the waters of acceptance with a group she intimately trusted. The confidence building inside her was palpable. She wasn't merely cooking, she was communicating a message. Friends arrived, bringing not just their appetites, but an understanding of the shared history that Martha hoped to integrate into her research. They settled into her home with ease, the atmosphere swelling with warmth. She served her quinoa stuffed peppers alongside roasted vegetables seasoned with a twist of cilantro and lime, daringly casting aside the smoky barbecue essence she once clung to. As her friends tasted her creations, their smiles and polite nods filled the room with reassurance. Encouragement flowed freely around the dinner table, feeding Martha's nascent ambition. "Wow, Martha, this spice is incredible. What's in it?" Laura inquired, her fork hovering over a pepper half. Martha felt a swell of pride, elaborating on her spice blend, each ingredient becoming a piece of the story she wished to weave into her meals. Their engagement sparked something in her, a deep realization that sharing her food was more than just sharing taste. It was about opening doors to broader connections and deeper understanding. Yet, as the conversation flowed, an inkling of doubt arose once again. What if these dishes impressed her friends but faltered under the scrutiny of her family? Instinctively, a part of her wanted to retract, standing back and choosing the safety of traditional favorites instead of risking the alienation that new dishes might evoke. "I guess you must think I'm going a bit far with this new cooking style," she hesitated, bringing her wine glass up to her lips as if it were a shield. "No way," Jason exclaimed, voice unwavering. "You're evolving, Martha. Isn't that what we all should be doing?"
His words clanged in her mind like a bell, leaving a lingering echo that demanded contemplation. Was evolution in the simplest of forms, transforming familial norms through a lens of curiosity and willingness? As they transitioned into dessert, echoes of laughter and light-hearted banter filled the kitchen. Martha found herself wanting to linger in this moment, suspended in time, allowing it to wash over her like a wave. Yet the question loomed larger than life in the back of her mind, whether her own family would welcome this evolution, or if they would force her back, encasing her ideas in the restrictions of nostalgia. Determination flickered anew within her. She could feel herself transforming. This was just the beginning of her creative journey. How daring would she allow herself to be?
Each bite brought clarity to her inclination for change, yet it was undulating and unsteady, as though the next wave of challenge lay just ahead, waiting to either anchor her newfound voice or toss her back into the depths of uncertainty. The evening ended with a toast to adventures ahead, but the next chapters of her culinary journey felt shadowed by unpredictable complexities. Would she find the resolve to share these transformative meals with her family, and how would her love for food continue to shape her relationship with those she adored while braving the unknown? The kitchen dimmed as the gathered friends embraced the closing of a beautiful night, and Martha stood amidst the fading warmth, discovering the cracks of uncertainty lurking just below the surface. Her heart raced, aching with the desire for acceptance, to learn how to truly bridge the past with the future. The time had come to confront the echoes of doubt once more. Would she venture forth, unafraid? Martha awoke the next morning, the morning sun piercing through the curtains with a renewed vigor. The uncertain yet exhilarating aftermath of the previous night fed her desire to do more than merely fulfill familial expectations. Against the backdrop of her peaceful kitchen, a storm of thoughtful determination began to brew. The challenges she faced were not simply about food, they were about her identity, her confidence, and her courage to embrace change. She prepared a cup of herbal tea, grounding herself in the moment. As she sipped, her eyes fell on the vibrant culinary aspirations displayed on the fridge. It felt like a beacon, guiding her towards what could be, each point illuminating a different facet of her ambition. The gentle hum of the kettle became a soundtrack to her swirling thoughts, and with it came a realization. Each time she cooked, she forged a new path, one meal at a time. Yet with that realization emerged a gnawing question that tugged at her conscience. How could she nurture those desires without falling prey to the constraints of her family's expectations? This dilemma spun around her, an internal tug-of-war between her newfound self and the culture she had grown up with. Fueled by this inner conflict, she decided it was time to confront her family's culinary norms head-on. A plan formed in her mind, a dinner that would serve as a prologue to her evolution as a cook, a chance to weave her influences and intentions into the tight fabric of family tradition. The idea bloomed with vibrant possibilities. She could creatively reinterpret their favorites, using the diverse flavors she had recently discovered. What if she could marry her world with theirs, crafting a bridge from their history to her vision? As the day unfolded, Martha meticulously crafted a menu that blended the old with the new. She dreamed of herb-filled stuffed squash that paid homage to her grandmother's meals, paired with a fresh citrus salad that rejoiced in her culinary explorations.
These dishes might serve not just as nourishment, but as metaphors, signaling her transition from tradition to innovation. Facing the burning question of her family's acceptance, doubt echoed in her mind. Would they savor the unfamiliar, or would it linger on their plates untouched, a painful reminder of changes they might reject? This fear was daunting. A wave of anxiety threatened to pull her under. The prospect of failing at their reception weighed heavily, revealing the layers of emotional investment she had in their approval. She began to prep for the dinner, the vibrant aroma of spices wrapping around her and igniting her resolve. Moments of hesitation refused to drown her. Instead, they pressed her deeper into her purpose. She poured herself into these dishes, each chop of the knife resonating with both her worries and aspirations. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the kitchen, Martha set the table with a blend of mismatched dishes, another metaphor for her endeavor. In the quiet of her home, she took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. The warmth of acceptance from her friends was still fresh, a reminder that her culinary voice could speak with clarity amidst the noise of self-doubt. When the family arrived, laughter and conversation filled the air, but beneath it all, Martha sensed a muted tension in her gut. In plating the food, she could hear her heart racing. She basked in the beauty of her creations, only to feel the weight of expectations settling over her like a heavy blanket. As they sat down, she glanced at each familiar face gathered around her table, their expressions both welcoming and scrutinizing. The moment felt suspended in time, the precipice between what was and what could be. "Tonight, I'm taking you on a journey," she announced, the tremor in her voice echoing her uncertainty. "As you taste these dishes, consider them not just food, but a bridge between our past and what we might embrace in the future." Eyes widened, silence descended upon the table, and her heart pounded anxiously in her chest. Would her family embrace the transformation she was proposing, or would they recoil, pushing her back toward the familiar? With every mouthful of food, the battle within her escalated. Open arms or critical gazes awaited her. The meal lay before them, but the true test had only just begun. How would each response shape her journey? Martha watched, breaths held in eager anticipation, ready to confront the outcome of her venture into the unknown. This night had the potential to unearth truths buried deeply within her own family, challenging years of tradition with one plate at a time. Would this be the moment where culinary respect and personal growth intertwined? Or would it signal the end of her aspirations, leaving her standing frozen at the crossroads? The answer awaited just beyond the horizon of that first bite.
As the forks hesitated above plates, Martha's heart hammered like a distant drum line, uncertain yet incessant. Each familial gaze lingered a moment longer than she had anticipated, punctuated by the delicate clinking of utensils against china, a sound that resonated with her internal struggle. The silence strangled her resolve, yielding into self-doubt that threatened to tear her newly formed courage apart. "Mom, you've really outdone yourself this time," her younger brother said, breaking through the strangeness in the room as he dug into the stuffed squash. His enthusiasm was refreshing, yet it drew out a pang of anxiety. Would the others follow or bury their forks in misgivings? Her parents exchanged cautious glances, their forks lightly poking at the unfamiliarity on their plates. Martha's mother, always the loyal custodian of family traditions, tasted the salad with a measured expression. Careful not to project vulnerability, Martha leaned inward, hoping to decipher their reactions. Each bite became a monumental undertaking for her family. Would they relish this new approach or mourn the absence of old comforts? The contrast of flavors represented the budding of her identity, yet she remained desperate for validation. Moments passed like eternity, the meal stretching itself thin under the weight of expectation, and Martha could feel a growing tension pooling in the corners of her mind. It wasn't just the food she was presenting, it was a piece of herself, a sliver of her journey toward independence. Midway through the meal, her mother cleared her throat, a habitual sign indicating that something significant was about to unfold. "This is interesting, Martha," she began slowly, the careful choice of words enough to ignite a myriad of possible interpretations. "Interesting? Does that mean it's bad?" Martha's voice almost cracked, fear stitching the fabric of her tone as she grappled with the silence that followed. She darted between hope and dread. "No," her mother offered. "It's just different." "Different can be good too," Martha replied, striving for confidence, and immediately regretting how insistent she sounded. Navigating this exchange was becoming a skill she desperately wanted to master. Yet here she was, feeling like a rookie battlegrounder before seasoned warriors of culinary tradition. "Different can be confusing," her father added, drawing a line between acceptance and the uncharted territories of culinary innovation. Martha's stomach knotted as the familial perceptions weaved tightly around her, leaving no space for her ambitions. As she detected the impending struggle between her desires and their comfort, a thread of determination ignited within her. This wasn't just about food, it was a declaration of her right to explore identity. Martha reached across the table, taking a mental inventory of each reaction, of every few seconds laden with unspoken truths.
Finding her voice, she reiterated, "The essence of who we are can change without losing what we've cherished. I hope you'll see this not as a replacement, but rather as an evolution." Her words broke through the static of the moment, sparking a flicker of understanding behind her mother's eyes. There was a quiet acknowledgement, a flicker of curiosity that had previously been veiled in doubt. As the conversation shifted from hesitant critiques to earnest exploration of flavors, Martha's spirits soared. By the time dessert arrived, an unexpected fusion of traditional pies softened with exotic spices, Martha glimpsed the stirrings of acceptance. Laughter returned, fueled by conversations as unique as her dishes.
Gradually, the walls she had feared stood tall with the unit of ancestry became a canvas for her dreams. Still, not everyone had fully transitioned. His father remained contemplative, picking at the remnants of his meal. His quietness, murky and heavy, loomed larger than anticipation. As the evening unfolded and she observed the mixed bag of responses, doubt and strength waged a delicate war within her. With every smile and each lingering frown, a new query pricked the surface of her mind. How could she further explore the uncharted terrains of her identity while still reaching for acceptance? Martha knew in her heart that the journey she initiated couldn't end here, nor could it allow her to retreat into yesterday's obligations. While a faint sense of triumph washed over her, a deeper reckoning called her forward. The time had come to face not just her family's culinary expectations, but the internal barriers she still battled. She was on the brink of discovering not just who she could be in the kitchen, but who she could be in their lives. And yet, one question loomed larger than them all. How would she further navigate the fine line between acceptance and authenticity? With every passing moment, the stakes rose, casting a shadow over her fledgling confidence, prompting a yearning for deeper exploration that hung palpably in the air. Would she seize the impending opportunity to unfurl her identity further, or would she shackle herself to the restraints of tradition meant not for her hands? Martha awoke the next morning with a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension coursing through her veins. The remnants of last night's dinner still hung in the air, a bittersweet reminder of her delicate dance between hope and fear. She had cracked a door open, but she sensed now the weight of a deeper commitment. This was no longer about just culinary innovation. It was about the very fabric of who she was and the legacy she sought to forge. As the sun peeked through her kitchen window, spilling golden light onto the countertop, Martha stood at a crossroads. She understood that she could either retreat into the comforts of tradition or charge into the unknown, an unyielding territory where authentic self-expression thrived.
Each choice echoed in her mind like a beating drum, pounding with urgency. Her father's contemplative silence lingered, casting a shadow over her newfound courage. She resolved to bridge the gap, to transform his uncertainty into curiosity. With a determined sigh, she pulled out her notebook and began sketching ideas for her next culinary venture. Experimentation was not merely a choice, it had become a necessity. As she navigated her way through various recipes, she felt each line she penned infused with the essence of her evolving identity. In the following days, Martha began inviting friends over for casual dinners. Each gathering was both a celebration and a chance to further hone her skills and solicit honest feedback. Her kitchen transformed into a laboratory, a sanctuary for trials infused with creativity. The clashing flavors, textures, and colors became extensions of her spirit. She was redefining not only her culinary repertoire, but her very concept of family, constructed not just by blood, but by shared experiences and communal acceptance. With each gathering, the responses were more encouraging. Friends laughed in delight, voices merrily echoing off the walls. Each compliment fortified her resolve, and she started to feel herself grow into the chef she always wanted to be. Yet beneath that burgeoning confidence, a trepidation kept whispering in her ear. What if her family remained unconvinced, still clinging to their vanishing traditions? Doubt gnawed at her during quiet moments. She found herself staring at her father, imagining the words she feared he wouldn't say. Would he ever come around, or would he always look at her fusion dishes with skepticism? Despite the applause from her friends, it was her family's approval that she craved most fervently. Her heart clenched at the thought of presenting another new dish to them, her hands clammy at the imagined forks raised once again in hesitation. It was during one late-night baking session that a revelation struck. As she prepared a delicate pastries, she infused them with ingredients inspired by her heritage, sweet spices mingling with rich flavors of her childhood. A sense of determination surged through her. This bridge she sought, the one connecting her new culinary identity to her family's traditions, would require empathy and understanding. She might be the one to lead the conversation, but she also needed to listen. The coming dinner with her family loomed large. This time she was adamant about showcasing her creations. It wasn't just about innovative meals, it was about sharing an experience, a narrative that intertwined both heritage and contemporary flair. She prepared not just dishes, but a story, one woven from both her triumphs and vulnerabilities.
As she meticulously plated her offerings, a surge of anxiety tinged with optimism enveloped her. Would this meal transform the haunting silence that had perched itself on the edges of their familial dinners?
The clock ticked loudly, counting down the final minutes before their arrival. With every tick, her resolve intensified. She couldn't dismiss her father's apprehensions completely. They required a reckoning. Yet, as the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of her family, a small voice inside her steadied her. Authenticity nurtures connection. Martha opened the door with a smile that belied her heart's racing rhythm. The time had come not only to present her culinary creations, but also to confront the unsteadiness rooted deep in her family dynamics. Would her bold attempt at evolution ignite acceptance, or would it end in resignation? In the warmth of the moment, she saw both challenge and potential. The time for true confrontation had finally arrived. Martha led her family to the dining table, the scent of her carefully curated dishes wafting through the air like an invitation to engage. As they settled in, the weight of their unspoken questions hung heavily, eagerly waiting to break the surface. She felt an urge to rush through the proceedings, but steadied herself. Each dish represented not just her culinary evolution, but also the complex fabric of her identity, an intertwining of respect for her roots and a bold step into her future. Her father sat at the head of the table, his brows furrowed as he surveyed the offerings. Martha filled their glasses with a bright, sparkling beverage infused with herbs and citrus, a slight departure from the usual wine. She raised her glass and offered a toast, her voice firm despite the tremor in her heart. To family and the stories we share. The first dish she placed in front of them was a twist on a traditional family favorite, a savory stew heightened with spices she had come to love during her travels. She watched her father lift his spoon uncertainly, his expression unreadable. As the flavors unfolded on his palate, her heart raced. Would he savor the warmth she infused into the dish, or recoil from the unexpected? His first bite was met with silence, and she could feel her pulse quicken, anticipation swirling within her. Then she caught a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He tasted the depth of flavor but lingered on the nuances, an essence of familiarity intertwined with daring creativity. Moments passed, and she sensed the internal battle he was confronting, the reluctance to embrace the change versus the recognition of her passion. The next dish, a vibrant salad bursting with colors and textures, prompted her mother to speak first. "You've really outdone yourself, Martha. This feels different." Each word was drawn out, cautiously treading water where tradition met innovation. The lightness in her mom's tone offered a crack in the rigid facade, and Martha seized it. "It's a fusion of what I grew up loving and what I've discovered. I want to share not just food, but how we can keep evolving together," she explained, feeling both liberated and vulnerable. "Fusion?" Her father finally broke his silence, furrowing his brow. Food is meant to be simple. The challenge in his voice was unmistakable, a clear marker of his struggle. His commitment to tradition clashed with the evident joy woven into Martha's artistry. "Yes, but the world is changing," she replied, holding his gaze with steady conviction. "What I've found is that we hold on to the essence of our traditions, but we can still explore flavors and ideas outside of them. It enriches who we are together. Isn't that what family is about?" His eyes, typically shielded from vulnerability, softened momentarily. He began to articulate an argument, but something shifted. A quiet moment enveloped the table as her siblings exchanged glances. "Can we just enjoy the meal?" one of her brothers interjected, an unexpected lightness sparking from his tone. "It's really good." The approval acted as a floodgate for a wave of tentative acceptance. Martha felt a glimmer of hope as they continued to sample the remaining courses. Each plate, a personal letter crafted from her heart, beckoned them deeper into the narrative she was weaving. It became evident that this meal was less about culinary experimentation and more about navigating the complexities of connection, an attempt to articulate the unarticulated tensions that separated them. As the dinner progressed, laughter began to replace hesitation, and she saw flickers of intrigue spark between her father and the unfamiliar dishes. When the final course, a dessert inspired by her childhood memories yet depicted in a novel format, was served, she felt both proud and terrified. It was a delicate canvas of flavors that she hoped would remind them of shared experiences while still beckoning acceptance of her growth. As they began to talk and taste, Martha began to realize that her journey was not merely about culinary adventures. It was an exploration of identity and resilience, a pathway to renewal. Yet amidst the emerging warmth also lurked the fear of rejection, the anxiety that her father's heart might still remain closed. Just as the conversation began to flow,
Her father's eyes shifted back to her, a storm mingling with understanding in his gaze. "But you still have to realize something," he said, tone heavier, deepening once more the weight of the moment. "What if the essence of our family is lost in this fusion?" Martha's breath hitched as she felt the challenge that undeniably lay ahead. The gravity of his words echoed long after, propelling her thoughts into unfamiliar terrain marked by determination. How could she reassure him that forging new paths didn't mean abandoning cherished traditions? The evening had transformed but remained unsettled. Authenticity offered connection, yet acceptance required a willingness to confront the complexity of transforming familial ties. As she cleared the table, she knew that this was far from over.
Tomorrow loomed large, bringing more questions, and with it she felt a familiar ping of resolve. This dinner was merely the beginning of a long, woven yearning. Would her next culinary venture open a wider door to dialogue, or would it invite yet another wave of skepticism? She couldn't dismiss the depths of her father's hesitation, nor could she ignore the spark of curiosity ignited in the room. But would curiosity lead to acceptance or conflict? The tension sparked anew as she imagined the dishes still waiting in her mind, flavors yet to be explored. Martha woke the next morning with the sun streaming through her kitchen window, casting warm hues across the countertops. Mornings like this had once felt like perfect symbols of routine and comfort, but today they carried an air of urgency. The success of last night's dinner reverberated in her mind, a delicate dance of approval, skepticism, and the uncharted waters of possibility. She felt both invigorated and a sense of looming responsibility. As she brewed her coffee, her mind raced with plans. That dinner had been just the beginning. The real work lay ahead in cultivating the bridges she needed to build and reinforcing the connections that felt fragile. Martha pulled out her notebook, its pages filled with sketches of dishes yet to be crafted. Each design represented not just a culinary idea, but a chance for dialogue, a sensory story that could weave her family together. Flipping through the pages, she paused at a recipe inspired by her father's childhood dish. It illustrated the richness of nostalgia, yet adorned with elements that danced on the palate differently. She pondered how she could present it to him, not just as food, but as an invitation to share a moment of openness. What she sought was more than just a meal. It was a lifeline to his heart, an opportunity for reassurance that change could nourish rather than diminish. As she settled into her day's rhythm, Martha anticipated the weekly family brunch, an opportunity to gather once more and expound upon her ideas. This time, however, she wouldn't rely solely on flavors. She would engage them through stories and anecdotes, marrying her creations with the emotional bonds that seasoned each bite. Her thoughts drifted to her father's silent contest of values. After all, tradition was a fortress not easily infiltrated, especially for someone as steadfast as he. Could she prove to him that tradition could evolve while remaining intact? She gripped her pens tighter, the weight of her father's question lingering in her mind. What if the essence of their family was lost? Martha needed to confront that uncertainty head-on during brunch. She envisioned vividly the moment each family member would sample her new creation, an amalgam of past and present. What stories would they share? Would her father feel appreciated or threatened? Her resolve strengthened. This time, she'd be direct.
She would invite dialogue, urging him to express his trepidations openly. If they remained silent as they tasted, their fears would linger in the air, choking the bond. As afternoon approached, with ingredients strewn across her counters, the rhythm of chopping vegetables and steaming grains became meditative. She envisioned the brunch as a canvas, every dish painted with intention. The delicate balance between honoring the past and paving the way for the future thrummed in her core, urging her to craft something magnificent. The doorbell chimed, interrupting her thoughts. It was her brother and sister, eager and boisterous, filling the space with laughter. Their buoyancy brought a smile to her face, yet the weight of unspoken words still hung overhead. The family dynamic evolved gradually, but she sensed their reactions could shift like tides. It was vital to present not just dishes, but herself, fully, authentically, embracing the risk of both acceptance and rejection. "Hope you're ready for something different," she called out as they entered, their curiosity palpable. "Different is good, just no surprises like last time, okay?" her brother teased, his eyes dancing. Was that skepticism or genuine curiosity? Martha's heart pounded. It was all too clear that, wary as they may be, they were still open to the unexpected. With everything set to greet them, Martha felt a tantalizing mix of anticipation and fear surging within her.
What if today's brunch would not only serve as a meal, but become a crucible for emotional understanding? Voices and laughter began to fill the air as her family settled at the table. Each new moment spun on a fragile axis, her hopes balanced atop a precipice. Would this be the day of emotional breakthroughs or a reenactment of doubts? As she placed the first dish down in front of them, the tension coiled tighter. She wasn't just presenting food, she was sending out an unspoken invitation for a deeper exploration of their family identity. The time had come to face their reactions head-on. Would they embrace the fusion of old and new, or would tradition once again wrestle tightly around their hearts, keeping her unidimensional? With each heartbeat, Martha felt the world around her retract, anticipating her next move. Martha stood before her family as brunch unfolded, her table adorned with vibrant dishes reflecting her culinary evolution. Each plate bore witness to a journey of thoughtful change, a bridge connecting cherished traditions to newfound experiences. The aroma of fresh herbs mingled with nostalgia as she placed the first dish on the table, a carefully crafted vegetable frittata infused with spices reminiscent of family gatherings. Her family gazed at the spread, a blend of curiosity and skepticism lingering in the air. Would they receive this meal as a testament to her growth, or would comfort and tradition barricade their acceptance? Martha's heart pounded as she waited, the moment muted yet pregnant with potential.
"Mom, what's this recipe?" her daughter asked, a note of caution coloring her tone. "This," Martha began, steadying her voice despite the quivering anticipation within her, "is a frittata inspired by Grandma's quiches, but infused with lighter ingredients." She hoped clarity and familiarity would assuage their hesitation. "Looks good," one of her brothers replied, taking a tentative bite as if testing the waters. His expression shifted, surprise flickering through his features. "Wow, this is actually really flavorful." Encouraged, Martha watched as her father hesitated before digging into the frittata with newfound curiosity. Each forkful seemed a victory. She sensed him grappling with the change, yet still willing to engage. As their conversation turned to anecdotes of family meals past, she realized the bridge she sought wasn't solely about food. It was about fostering dialogue and connection. As brunch continued, Martha introduced her brightly colored avocado toast adorned with heirloom tomatoes and microgreens. Laughter bubbled around the table, and with each compliment, her resolve solidified. Her brother enthusiastically suggested they recreate these dishes together next time, and her daughter chimed in, "Maybe we can make this a weekly thing?" Hope surged within her. They were beginning to embrace the change, not just in flavor, but in spirit. Reflections of her father flickered with warmth, but he soon turned pensive once more. "It's not that I don't appreciate your creativity, Martha," he said cautiously. "It's just different from what we've always had. What's your goal?" Martha felt the air thicken. They stood at a crossroads, with potential discomfort looming. "It's about exploration. I want to show that our meals can evolve while we hold on to our roots. Change doesn't diminish what we valued, it enhances it." For a moment her father remained silent, combing through his thoughts. Finally he spoke, a tentative resolve evident in his voice. "I suppose I see now that you have something valuable to share. This is a lesson in welcoming innovation." With every passing course, the dialogue deepened, revealing layers of understanding. Martha marveled at how the conversation shifted, each dish invoking stories long tucked away in the recesses of their family history, and interspersed with laughter. Addressing her father directly, she voiced her lingering uncertainty. "I want you to know that this journey is about all of us. I'm not trying to erase our traditions, just like you've held the same recipes dear and passed them along. My hope is that we adapt, grow, and embrace the flavors of tomorrow." Her words resonated, and she felt the collective heartbeat at the table synchronize, a soft acceptance of evolution amidst the known. Her father nodded slowly, recognition dawning in his eyes. "Maybe I can see the beginnings of something more in this," he conceded, and for the first time, his smile reached his eyes.
The warmth of their shared meal breathed life into the realization that change need not come as a wrecking ball. It could manifest as an invitation, a celebration of interconnectedness. As they transitioned to dessert, a mango and lime parfait drizzled with honey, Martha felt a swell of pride. This wasn't merely a culmination of dishes. It marked a pivotal moment in their family narrative, the acceptance of change, the understanding that individuality could coexist with shared history. The air was alight with vibrant conversation as they shared laughter and reflections about how relationships could also evolve. In those moments, Martha recognized her profound triumph. She had not only navigated the delicate interstitial space between heritage and modernity, but she had also fostered an environment where acceptance flourished. Later that night, as she recapped the day, the memory of their family's laughter echoed in her mind. Martha realized she had achieved beyond expectation. She had crafted a synthesis of acceptance, bridging the gap between tradition and transformation. With each flavor, dish,
and conversation shared around the table. She now stood empowered, not just by the success of her culinary innovation, but by the assertion of her identity and the warmth of connection. The journey of change she had embarked upon, while initially fraught with fear and uncertainty, solidified her sense of self. She had garnered not just the support of her family, but a deeper understanding that growth could coexist harmoniously with loving connections. The path forward revealed itself clearly. Embrace the evolution of stories, hold fast to shared bonds, and allow both tradition and innovation to inspire a future yet unwritten. Martha placed a hand on her heart, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction and strength. She had stepped bravely into the unknown and emerged transformed, ready to face new challenges and expand her culinary horizons. This was her moment of awakening, conquered fears and unending possibilities interwoven into her life's narrative, one dish, one conversation, one acceptance at a time. Now was the time. Her journey was just beginning. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire your journey. Leave a like now to show your support, feeding the algorithm to keep these narratives alive. Comment your thoughts and reactions. Let's hear how this ending resonates with you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and realize the beauty in transformation.